Well, hello there, YouTube. This is Mr. Gibson Guy. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. I haven't been feeling too well this last few days, but I had ordered a camera recently and it arrived yesterday, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm probably not going to give you any germs over the internet, so you should be safe from that now. And I'm just going to stumble my way through here on this and give you this information. Those of you who are familiar with my videos, you know that I've done a lot of videos on different cameras, and if you look at my camera display up here, I have a store that I run out of here too, which you'll go into more later. But I have cameras that I'm really interested in, and then other cameras that'll come, and then I'll put them on the store and sell them and buy something else and find some other interesting stuff. But then a lot of stuff I don't want to sell it, I just want to keep it. And you may notice on this shelf I have all Nikons, and I've been a Nikon photographer for most of the last 40 years, and there's 8 Nikon film cameras on that shelf and 16 Nikkor lenses, and this whole video is being shot on my D5200, so I have even more Nikon stuff than that. But today's video, we're not going to be looking at Nikons. We're going to be looking at cameras from Olympus. That's what I got. Got a new camera. This is not the new camera, obviously. This is one of my my oldest Olympus here. This is an old OM-1, not an N model, but this was the beginning of the line. We'll go through that in this video as it proceeds. My interest in Olympus for many, many years was my favorite camera was this. And this one is the OM-2N model. See it up there? I guess that makes it upside down. Look that way and see if you can read it on there. I think it's probably better for you than what I can see here. But the OM-2N was a landmark camera of its day. And in my early photography days, or early photography years, I just dreamed of having this camera, the OM-2N, especially a black one with the auto winder on it. And if you'd seen my other videos, the infamous Olympus grip strap that allows you to hold the camera one-handed just by slipping it in like that, for those of you like me who don't like to use a camera strap. We'll talk some more about that. But recent days, I've been shopping around. I told you I look at different stuff, and I came across this on a Mercari site that was for sale. This is an OM-2 spot program. The S is for spot, and then the green letters, yeah, I think you can see the green letters. It says program there. Yeah, see that? You can hear it, the battery check. This is a newer one, but still it's from the mid-80s, and having this around awakened me to some other aspects of the OM-2N that weren't that great. When they went to the little bit later cameras beyond the OM-2N, they added some mechanical shutter speeds so that even if your batteries were dead, you could still make an exposure with your camera. And that was one of the things that was always a downside to the OM-1, was sometimes it would freeze up, sometimes the batteries would go on it, and so it was good if you had something that could still fire even though the batteries had given out on it. And then ultimately it came around to the new stuff, and this is where my new camera comes in, new to me. And notice this, look at this different color. even on the bottom, everything like that. Yes, this is the Olympus OM-4ti, or titanium, and it's got a whole bunch of titanium on it. So let me take you through a little bit of history and specifications, and we'll take a look at the OM-4ti, or the OM-4ti. That's what Yoshi likes to call it, that Japan vintage camera. Alright, so the Olympus M1 first was shown in Phonokina in 1972. The year before that, Olympus had shown a prototype, but it wasn't a working prototype, so it didn't really count for anything. In 72 it appeared. In 1975, Olympus took the next step by introducing the OM2, which was, instead of the manual mechanical match needle camera that the OM1 was, the OM2 was an all-electric auto exposure camera, and that appeared in 1975, and that was a big uproar in the camera world. I did a video about that, and you can check in the on my channel. And then in 1979, Olympus updated both of their cameras with the OM1N and the OM2N, which went along with the change to the new, instead of the old 310 flash, they went to the T20 and T32 series flash units. Like this. This little tiny thing is a 2-cell flash, and it goes right on the top of the camera like that. The usually flash units wanted to be mounted way up high so you could get some altitude when you took pictures of people, and they wouldn't have red eyes because the flash would light from a different angle. And Olympus says, well, the heck with that. People can just buy a black magic marker or a marking pen, and when they get their prints back and they have red dots in their eyes, you can just hit them with the pen and not worry about it. In the meantime, you're going to get better overall exposures by having the flash down low, close to the lens, instead of way up high on a higher axis from the lens. So that's what they had going on for them. This is a T20, and then there's a T20, T32, and a T45 also. Now, from the N series camera, OM1N and OM2N, we go up until 1983. And in 83 we get introduced, not quite to this one, but close to this one. We get introduced to the OM4. That comes out in 1983. Then a year later, in 1984, they come out with the Olympus likes to do things retrovertedly, with the OM3, which you would think would have arrived before the OM4. The OM3 is a mechanical match needle camera. It's basically an expensive OM1, but it's built onto the frame of the OM4, which was their new lineup of cameras, but not the titanium yet. They would just still come in regular black or in chrome. Also in 1984, Olympus introduced the OM2S spot program, OM2SP, OM2S, the one that we were just looking at. So this OM2 came out the same year as the OM3 and the year after the OM4. So they kind of went all backwards in those, in that order. Now, the OM2 spot program was made based, as I said, based on the OM4. The OM1 that originally started in 1972 lasted until 1987. The OM3 The expensive version, fancy version, only lasted until 1986. And people were all buying OM2s if they wanted a mechanical camera, instead of buying the very, very expensive OM3. So that camera held in there, and you hardly ever see them. They're collected by collectors now, and they don't get out to play very much. People don't use them. They just have them because Olympus, they were trying to sell a real expensive version of a really economical camera, and very few people bought them. I think they just bought them because they knew this was not going to last, and it didn't last. OM3 only went from 84 to 86, but because you could still buy an OM1. But in 1987, the OM-4ti replaced the OM4, and the OM-4ti, I learned about this, and this was really interesting. I thought I knew everything about it, but there's a lot of things I didn't know about this. The OM-4ti has a titanium top plate. It has a titanium bottom plate. It has a titanium ring guard around the lens mount all the way around. You can see that's the same color, and it's a separate piece from the pentaprism here. And then I just learned this from Yoshi over at Japan Vintage Camera. If you ever listen to him, he does some very interesting videos. One of his favorite cameras was the OM-4ti, and he has a really battle-worn OM-4ti of his, a black one, which is not black. It's almost entirely got the paint chipped off of it, but it's still charging away like it knew what it was doing. Nothing wrong with that. It's a real workhorse, and in really good shape. As far as being beat up or anything, it's just not. But the paint's gone. It's been, I don't know, dropped it out of an airplane or something. And I learned from Yoshi that if you get a OM-3ti, which I didn't talk about, that came out later, but they had an OM-3ti, and in the world market, the OM-4ti, that you want to make sure you keep your door, your film door, on your OM3 or on your titanium camera, because on those cameras the backs are supposed to be made of titanium also. So people see one, they might want to grab the back. All of the OM cameras' backs are interchangeable. It's one back fits all, but it's only supposed to be titanium if the camera's a titanium. So keep that in mind. Earlier ones all came in the champagne, and then the later ones came in champagne and black. But the black paint chipped off. And one of the things that I noticed about this, and I don't know if I'm going to get it to, there's a scrape here into the covering, and over here, see if you can see that. You get the light on it. This is where the paint is chipped away, and it goes down to the bare metal. And the bare metal is kind of a ginger ale color. It really is a champagne color metal also. But this paint that they have over the whole titanium parts is kind of a semi-matte finish. And where you go right down to the titanium, where the strap lugs have rubbed it raw, that it's very, very glossy. Titanium, I guess, can be real shiny when it's bare. All right, so I got to say that. Now, I said good things and bad things. The OM4, which replaced, or the OM-4ti, which replaced the OM4 in 1987, ran until 2003. Now, in researching the OM-4ti, I had been trying to find information which nobody ever seems to mention, and you don't find out till you just get it, because nobody talks about this, so I'm going to talk about it. I naturally assumed when I bought my titanium OM-4ti that this camera, especially knowing what its special talent is, that this camera must be put together with a cobalt titanium shutter like you would find in a Nikon FM2 or a later FE2 or an FA. Those are vertical travel shutters that gave those Nikon cameras a 1/250th of a second flash sync. Now, why would you think that? Well, if it says titanium in the name and it's got titanium and titanium and titanium and titanium, you would think there would be some titanium in here. You would be wrong. Cotton cloth, horizontal traveling. So just the absolute antithesis of a high-tech shutter. This has the most low-tech shutter. In fact, if you use an OM-4ti with that T20 flash, your flash sync is 1/60th of a second. But what is it about the OM-4ti that makes it the most amazing and advanced camera of all the camera world? It is that this is the one camera, Olympus build, that would flash sync at all camera speeds up to 1/2000th of a second. Yes, that is something that this camera does. The only other thing that did that would be the very shortly lived OM-3ti, which came out I think in 1999 and ran till 2002 or 2001, something like that, till they sold them out. They didn't make just a handful of them, but that's the only thing that would sync at 1/2000th of a second. But you would think that they would put the fastest shutter they could find. Instead, they put in the slowest shutter. But then you see it all makes sense, because the secret to the flash that would sync at 1/2000th of a second wasn't in the camera. It was in the flash unit itself. That flash unit would sustain its flash for 1/1000th of a second, which apparently would be long enough to make a complete exposure with that horizontal shutter moving across it, and not have any dark and light spots. It would all be equally exposed. So while everybody else was working with the camera to get a faster sync speed, Olympus got a faster sync speed by making a faster flash. So that's why the OM-4ti has a cloth shutter. But I'm not disappointed, because it still has the fastest flash sync speed of any camera, as long as you're using that, what do they call it? The F280 auto flash. So I'm going to be looking around for an F280 to put on top of this, and I'm going to try out all my shutter speeds, see if I can really sync at 1/2000th of a second, because that's pretty cool. Now, I mentioned about my store. I think I'll finish with this part here. When I ordered this camera, I decided that I looked at the different ones, and this one looked like it was a pretty good deal, and I got it for a pretty reasonable price. It came from Japan. It comes faster from Japan than if you try to get it from Portland or something like that, or West Virginia. It comes here faster from Tokyo. That's been my experience with all the Japanese stuff that I bought from them. But I keep a store going. I have an eBay camera store, and what happens is I buy stuff, and sometimes I'll get something, I'll really like it, I want to keep it. Sometimes I'll get it and it's like, nah, it's okay. I make it work, check everything out, it works fine.